Hi, everyone. I'm Steve here with Pastor Victor Broke. Thanks for being with
Hi,
us, Pastor.
good to be here.
All right, we get so caught up in our lives sometimes and wanting more, and uh, it's easy not to recognize what is important in the long run. And long run is forever. What do you got for us? What do you got for us today?
It's Luke chapter 16, verse 20 to about 24. We'll try to encapsulate a little bit. But listen, there's a contrast here as we read through of a rich man and about the poorest of poor. And the fellow's name is Lazarus. You'll find in the Bible that sometimes the same name pops up again and again. Mary's one, and even Jesus is one. But they're different people than the other Lazarus that was raised from the dead. But at 1620, the story picks up. A certain poor man named Lazarus was laid at his gate, the gate of the rich man, covered with sores. I'm going to skip a little bit of the gross stuff. Now, it came about that the poor man died and was carried away by the angels to Abraham's bosom. And the rich man also died, and he was buried. And look at what comes next. And in Hades, he lifted up his eyes. So it's almost as if he woke up in Hades. Surprise! No, not really, but he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me. Send Lazarus that he may dip a tip of his finger in water and cool off my tongue, for I'm agony in this flame. But Abraham said, Child, remember that during your life you received good things, and likewise Lazarus bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. These are the words of Jesus. This is the perspective. This story is more than likely an actual story with actual people in mind. Now, we think that what Jesus speaks about in kind of different terms, but this was a real story, and it probably happened 1,000 million times over again and again. And there was this rich man, and he thought he was great, but he didn't recognize that his riches were just ever so temporary. It's like tick, tick, and it's gone. And then there's eternity. And you know who the richest man ended up being here? It's Lazarus. It was entirely, he was blessed by God forever and ever. And we often say, well, why'd this happen? Well, God will settle the account. This was unfair. Don't worry, God keeps track. But I deserve, well, you deserve more like the rich man. And when we fall on our faces and recognize who we are, like Lazarus did, God hears us. And there's a distinction. Your riches make no difference. But the riches in heaven, it's called Abraham's bosom. It's before Jesus preached to the dead. And Abraham's bosom was the best place you could be before Jesus was resurrected. And so Lazarus is now rich forever and ever and ever. And this rich man depended upon his money, but there was no such change. It was a cryptocurrency that went bankrupt. It was just a mystery and a secret, and it wasn't worth anything. And I think it's so important for us to keep in mind that God has his accounting system, and we need to go by God's system because he wants to bless you. He wants to draw near to you. But if you're like that rich man pushing him away, and even if you don't think you're a rich man, and you're not paying attention to God, you are poor. You are so poor that you can't afford a place at the table. And it's free. It's free to all who receive it. But the rich man didn't receive it. And Lord, help us each to turn to Jesus and to come to terms with him in not a religious way, but in a personal one-on-one way. And that's where the riches are forever and ever and ever. Sorry, I went on there, but I get excited by these passages that make it so clear.
One little word that I tell people on a way that you can measure this is check yourself and see if you've taken ownership of your stuff. Because it's not about how much stuff you have. It's about not taking ownership of it, because it's not really our stuff. So the second, you might not have a lot of money, but you could be classified as rich, in my opinion, if you take ownership of it. If you think it's yours, if you think those are your shoes and God hasn't provided it for you, if you think your cell phone is yours and you take ownership of it, this is mine, there might be a problem.
Yeah. It begins to own you. And that's where the danger part is. So you begin to have confidences. What is the answer to things? You look it up on your phone, and you don't look it up in your Bible. And you're going to get a different answer when you
unless you have the Bible app.
You look it up on your phone. That's true. Good point. Great point.
Okay. All right. Pastor, as always, thanks for your insight and your input. We'll see you next time.
Okay.